everyone. The Sundee's pop-up went so well. Thank you if you came to that. Thank you if you supported from afar. It was so fun living out my bookseller dreams. I was like personal book shopping for people. People on the street were coming up who had no idea what we were doing and thought it was so cute. I met several subscribers. Juanita, Gloria, Elle, Brooklyn. Shout out to all of you and the many more who came to the pop-up. It was so fun and sweet and nerdy to talk about books in real life. I really just feel super full of gratitude and enriched by this little side project. I found it to be just a great thing to pour energy into. You know what I mean? And it felt just like so tactical and real to finally have the day come. I will put a little bit of vlog footage that I captured the day of, just like mostly for my personal memories, because it just felt, not to be, I mean, I'm being dramatic and sentimental already, but it just felt like the seeding of something and I just wanted to remember it. So here is some vlog footage that I captured for my own personal memories. Hi. T-minus 15 minutes until we leave for the first Sundee's pop-up. I wanted to vlog this, but I also like more so want to be in the moment. So I'm probably not. Maybe we can convince Keeks to film something, but he probably won't because he's just like not that kind of lad. I'm feeling excited. I'm feeling nervous. I don't know why, because it's like gonna be all of my friends that are coming to support me. The rain has let up for this morning, which is great. And I'm excited to see people. Some people are coming and like dropping off book donations. Lots of my coworkers are coming. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be something. It's gonna be what it's gonna be, really. But I just wanted to vlog this for my own memory. Hair's not really doing it for me today, so I'll have to tuck it behind the ears, but what are you gonna do? Okay, well, I love you guys. Thank you for everything, and see maybe some of you in person. The weather was horrendous, but we made it work, and popped outside of Carnelian Coffee, which is a coffee shop in Portland and Southeast, and sold so many books. It was great. My other only Sundee's announcement for this month is that it is not too late to sign up for the June book club. I am sending out all of the June book club books next week to everyone who has signed up, so you should be getting your copy shortly. We are having a very special guest who we will be in conversation with during the book club live stream, so I think it'll be fun. Hope you can join. You can still watch the live stream if you don't join the book club. It's just another way of supporting me. So I will leave the link in the description box to sign up for that if you want. We are reading Don't Say We Didn't Warn You by Ariel Delgado Dixon. I really loved this new release. I don't think it got the readership it deserved, and I'm excited to spread the word and dive back into the book again. As far as what I have been reading, I've been reading a couple of things. I'm actually rereading Acts of Service by Lillian Fishman. I read that at the very end of last year. It is a recent release. It came out in April or May, I believe. Jalen, my friend Jalen at the Barn the Bookcase, did a podcast where he interviewed the author, which is fantastic and you should listen to. And I'm also doing a live stream discussion of the book with him later this month, next week, I think. So I'm rereading that, so I'm prepared and ready to talk about it. I won't spend much more time talking about that because we're gonna be so content heavy with that book on his channel. But rereading is a weird experience, that is what I will say. So strange. It feels like a really intense bout of deja vu, and you never remember as much as you think you will. At least I don't, because I have the worst memory in the world. So that's always interesting. It's like new and also not new at the same time, and reckoning with that is a strange experience. I finished Reward Systems by Calder, which is a collection of interlinked short stories, and I can only blurb it as chronically online Sally Rooney. That is, you know, completely just for the buzzwords of it all, and the clickbait and the title clicks, but I think it's a little bit fitting too. This follows a group of millennial young people figuring their relationships to one another and mostly follows two characters named Nick and Julia. The book is dealing with a lot of kind of millennial neuroses, but also is deeply embedded in trying to figure out our characters' relationships to technology and how that affects their ability to connect to one another. I would say that is the defining feature of this book if you had to put it up against all of the other pieces of millennial fiction that have come out recently. Story settings bounce around from like house parties to following the life cycle of an entire relationship to being inside of an office and kind of being a fly on the wall and following all of the different workers' daily routines. But I would say they're all kind of shaped by the confines of a screen, and the really daily lived realities of what it means to be so tech dependent is on the page. And I think they're on the page in a really interesting way. The author kind of defamiliarizes everyday objects and actions. So people aren't like on Instagram, they're on the social media app on their smartphone. The just like kind of dry, removed language that Calder uses to kind of distance the viewer and make all of these now so ingrained devices and applications and different places on the internet that we frequent to be even more otherworldly and strange was really fun to read about, and was fun as a reader to just kind of have that layer of removal. And it kind of harkened back to what I thought some of like the heart of the book was doing, was this kind of temporal flattening effect that it had on all of our characters that we were following, all of their connections to each other, their inability to make connections to new people, and also the kind of lives they were living and what the daily meat of their lives looked like when so much of it is mediated through some kind of device or app. And I don't really think this, I think this could have had like a really big moral bent to it, right? It could have been trying to say something. It could have been trying to say something and be kind of shamey in a way, but it wasn't. It was just observational, and that like lack of solitude, because it's all told in the third person, really helped support that idea as well. It was like kind of like the panopticon of like millennial technology dependent neuroses. I liked it. I had some pacing issues with it. Like the first short story, I think there's only 7, is like 125 pages, which felt kind of weird. And I was just kind of struggling. I was like, what does a short story mean? Is this a novella? Is this a novel? What does it mean for a short story collection to be interconnected? It was just kind of like these form questions I had, which usually aren't very important to me, but that is kind of what I had sticking points with this collection, which I think is kind of interesting. Really like the cover too. It's conceptually pretty strong and striking. So I think this is worth it if you like the Rooney tilt on things. This is gonna get blurbed with Rooney's name all over it. I kind of feel bad for Calder. She blurbed the book herself, so it's not like, you know, I'm pulling that out of thin air. I will also say, unlike Rooney's books, I don't think this had a lot of like class or identity themes to speak of. Like her work is so embedded in Irish class and identity politics, and this one didn't have a lot of that meat. It wasn't dealing with any queer characters. It was all kind of like cis het white people, or that's how I was reading them as. And there was no distinction between them a little bit. But again, it was like the flattening loop, same of it all. So it was like, maybe that was a choice. It was like, I don't know, like homogeny through technology and interpersonal relationships. I think it's coming out in July, and it's one that should be on your radar. I also recently finished The Revenge of the Scapegoat by, what is this person's name? Karen Beline. Really weird. I'm gonna have trouble talking about this book because I think a lot of it flew over my head, to be quite honest, but I still really liked my reading experience of it, and I think it was operating on a lot of different levels. We follow a adjunct professor named Iris, who is a chronically ill woman, and the whole kind of book centers around the fact that she just received this package from her father, which contains letters that he wrote to her while she was a teenager that were incredibly harmful and painful for her to receive back then. And it's kind of making her revisit this parental trauma and the headspace that she was in when this event first happened to her and these letters were sent to her. And it kind of inspires her to flee her life. She flees her drug-addicted husband, her house that's falling to shit around her, her mediocre life, which is teaching students how to write who sometimes take her advice and sometimes don't. And she wants to flee her body as well, her lived experience of being a chronically ill person and how much that impacts her on a day-to-day basis. So she decides to flee to upstate. And when she gets to this upstate place, it is kind of like this absurdist funhouse, hall of mirrors, full of wacky characters, freak show, right? Like, she ends up on a like museum artist space that is only operational for 1 month of the year, and it's inhabited by like the weirdest people you can imagine. There's a visiting artist there who brings cows that step on people's hearts that were trained for the Nazis, all fictional of course, but still just like the most harebrained weird shit you can imagine is what she meets in this place that she was trying to flee from, like the realities of all of her shit. She's just met with like an onslaught of weird new shit to figure out. It's like just absurd escapism the whole time, and just kind of mirroring back to her over and over that she like can't escape. Something formally that the book is doing too is anthropomorphizing her 2 feet, which have caused her a lot of pain because she has rheumatoid arthritis, into Flaubert characters. I think that's how you say that author's name, that from the 1800s, Bouvard and Pichot, and they become side characters in this experience and get identities attached to them and are kind of in conversation with Iris for the entire book, which is just another level of absurdism. And from my internet sleuthing, Flaubert is like a satirical touchstone for writers, right? I haven't read anything from him, and I'm just a bobo on the internet, so I don't that's what I mean when some of this went over my head. It was like kind of cheeky, like writers talking to other writers, little Easter egg drops for literary weirdness going on. That's something formally that's happening. And then like another thing that's happening are almost like breakings of the fourth wall, where she's confronting the reader and kind of constantly hearkening back to what it means to be a scapegoat. She was, you know, it started with the origin of her being a scapegoat for her dad receiving these letters that were essentially saying like, you're to blame with everything that's fucked up in my life, and her carrying that into adulthood, and how chronic illness makes you a scapegoat for everyone in your life around you. It's really hard for me to summarize this book. I think it was really weird, a really unique, strange reading experience. I want to read more from this independent publisher. I think they're called Dorothy. I think they specialize in feminist text. And if you like Catherine Lacey, who wrote Pew, who also blurbed this book, and is kind of why it came on my radar in the first place, I think you should read it. It's something something fresh, baby, something new. I'm kind of in the mood where I'm like looking for the new shit, the stuff in the narratives that aren't always same of what I ingest. Last night I picked up A Swim in the Pond by the Rain by George Saunders. I'm listening to this on audiobook and reading it at the same time, and I'm loving it so far. This is, George Saunders is an author and a writer and a teacher at Syracuse University, which I think is like a pretty prestigious MFA program for writers to get into. And he is deep diving into the short story form and Russian authors, which I have absolutely no context or experience with. Definitely kind of intimidates me, and is kind of doing some table setting for what it means to read short stories, what these writers are trying to accomplish in their text. Ooh, sorry. And just like a really academic but accessible kind of like mini course on short story reading, and I'm loving it. The book is narrated by George Saunders himself, and then it's voiced, sorry, by other people who are reading the short stories. So I'm only on the first short story, but it's so generous and interesting and not full of like any artifice so far. It's just like, what is this book doing? What are tools it's how is it asking you to think and respond to it? Like, what do we think is a way to connect with this material? Why did this author make this choice here? And I think the short story form is such an interesting way to do that, because you really don't have a lot of real estate to make some of those decisions like you do in novels. So I would really recommend this. The audio and reading at the same time pairing has been super fun. And my friend Jalen like touted this book all last year. He was like, read it! So I'm finally reading it and I'm really liking it. And I wish I would have read it sooner. That's me. I move in exactly 30 days from today from Portland, Oregon. So I'm starting to feel some feelings. My books are all in boxes over here. Got boxes behind me over there. Life is feeling a little chaotic, but I'm, again, happy I got one Sundee's pop-up in Portland. The weather is terrible. This is the worst spring I could ever remember. So that's making it easier to leave. You know what you've been reading? I would love to know. Feels wild that May is already almost over, but it is. And I'm just gonna try to be present in my life and in my work, and I urge you again to sign up for the Sundee's book club. Might be a sticker included in this month's delivery. Guess you'll have to see to find out. I'm gonna try to like include goodies every month that are sustainably and accessibly resourced. I think I also, let me know if you have any questions about like money transparency for Sundee's too. From the pop-up, we were able to donate 10% of our proceeds to Street Books, which is a literary program here in Portland that gives books to unhoused people through a mobile cart themselves. So that was fun. If you have any other questions or want transparency about anything, hit me up. And again, thank you for all your support. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you.